We're living in a day and age where anyone can start their own business, and it makes me think of the concept of just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? I know you might be hearing from a lot of other people, other therapists who started their own business, and they're like, you can too. You can make an extra X number of dollars, you can start a side gig, and you can start your own business. Wait a minute. It's true, you can, but should you? Let's discuss that today. My name is Huang. I'm an occupational therapist and certified hand therapist. And over the last 10 years, I started my therapy clinic. And then I got this crazy idea to start over 5 years ago, Hand Therapy Secrets. um, a little bit about me. My parents were immigrants, and they came here and worked for other people for a while and then started their own business. So I've always kind of seen it. And then actually, when I went back over 20 years ago, I went back to Vietnam. The culture, the industry there, a lot of them have the idea of like working for themselves, just because in their environment or economy, for a long time you couldn't easily go out and find jobs. You got jobs by creating your own. So I don't fall too far from the tree, I guess you could say. So I've always seen it, but for the longest time I was like, I don't want to work for myself because it's so hard. I saw my parents do it, and I was like, that's not for me. Anyway, it was for me. But let's discuss, like, let's talk about who should start a private therapy practice and who shouldn't start a their own business, therapy practice, online course, whatever it is that you want to do. Because I do think now that I hear a lot of people like, you can start your own business and you get a business and you get a business. There is no easier time than now, 100%. But is it for everybody? I don't really think so. I don't think everything is for everybody. And I think you, the therapist, you have to have some discernment, some judgment about what kind of personality you are, so that you can know, like, hey, can I do this or not do this? I mean, obviously, if you really wanted to, you would, and then this video wouldn't fucking matter. But for some of you guys that are questioning, let's talk about who should start their private practice and who shouldn't. This is a Huang point of view. So I'm going to just share with you 3 things that I've realized, like being in business, like you have to sort of have this mindset in order to be successful, or to just succeed, to try another day, try another year. Who should start their private therapy business and who shouldn't? So let's go over the 3 that should start a business if you have this kind of mindset, right? Number 1 is you have a stronger drive to avoiding failure than you have a desire to be successful. Because in business, you tend to fail a lot before you succeed. So if you're more driven to avoiding the failure versus then being like, oh my God, I have to be successful. Let me know if you mean. Let me know if you know what I mean. All right. Number 2, that you're okay with living with a certain amount of uncertainty. Like the whole fucking shit is uncertain, right? It's that idea that you eat what you kill, because if you don't get the business, then you don't have any money. So there's a lot of uncertainty, versus like if you were just working for someone else, for the most part, you're getting paid every 2 weeks, right? All right. Number 3 is a certain type of confidence or self-belief. Now, I think that confidence is on the other side of the success of what you do, right? But you have to be willing to fail like a bunch of times before you are feeling like confident, like, hey, I can actually do this. But you only need a little bit of evidence that you can do it, So that little bit amount of evidence that you need really sits behind like a reservoir of self-belief, right? So you have this inherent like self-belief that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out and you're going to be able to do it. So I think that at the end of the day, those are 3, like, I think, traits that would help you be more successful as a business person. Does that make sense? Let me know. Let me know if that makes sense. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the living with uncertainty. When I started my business, not only are you going out in this venture, but part of the uncertainty, you can have a job or you can not have a job. It really doesn't matter. You're still moving into uncertainty, because part of the uncertainty is that you have to spend a lot of your time before you actually see and reap the benefits of it. You have to spend a certain amount of your money beforehand, before you can reap the benefits of it. When I started my business, I had to start spending money, buying equipment, going around and marketing to doctors, spending a certain amount of money on marketing before I even made it. For example, I spend a certain amount of money on marketing now for my clinic. So let's say, for example, if I'm shelling out $2,000 a month on just one place of advertising spend, right? I'm spending that much money. I am doubling down that I'm gonna make that money back and then some, right? But you have to live with the uncertainty that you're gonna spend the money first. And I think that's such a huge concept. If you're dependent, like you're like, I'm really mad, I'm gonna start my own business, right? I mean, we all get pissed off at our employers, and we're like, fuck this bitch, I'm leaving. I'm sure my staff do that too. Fuck this bitch, she's having a bad day and she's yelling at me, and I'm gonna go start my own business. Do it, right? Go ahead. I'm sure my people, when I was setting off to go do my own thing, they were thinking the same thing. Go ahead and try, But I think the biggest one out of those three things: drive to avoid failure, live with a certain amount of uncertainty, or have a certain sense of self-belief. I think that, they're all really important. It's all like up here. It's all really important. But the idea of living with uncertainty is just being able to spend the money before you get the money. Be able to spend the money before you're able to make the money and see and reap the benefits of it. And to a certain extent, you're willing to lose to a certain amount, right? You're willing to, like, 1 week make more money, the next month, like, you're like, shit, what happened to all my patients, right? Like, how come I don't have anyone new coming in, right? So you're constantly like living with that uncertainty, and being able to make smart decisions around it that don't involve like a lot of fear. So I think those, if that resonates with you, just go start your business, or grow it, throw some more fuel to the flames if you are, you want to double down on your business this year. Really, honestly, I'm a person, I'm sure I've spoken out against it before, but I don't really think there's anything as like this, side gig stuff, because the amount of effort that you have to do on your side gig is like your real gig, right? So part of it's like, if you want to start something on the side, do it on the side with the intention of making it your main gig, right? Otherwise, just like you're constantly in this churn of not doing enough to get it off its feet. That's the thing with side gigs. It's like, it's just there when you want it, but it's not really gonna fulfill you. You know what I mean? All right, so I think the people who shouldn't start their business is someone who is in need of constant praise. You're that person. You're not looking to avoid failure. You're constantly looking for that success, and you need someone to constantly pat you on the back. That need, you can want it. Don't we all want someone to be like, kudos, Huang, you're doing great. We all want that to a certain extent. Some of us want it more than others, but when it's a need, right? Difference between want and need, right? And when there is a need for it, I think that you're gonna potentially live in a constant lack and not enough, because when you're in business for yourself, like There is no one to constantly be like, hey, you're doing a good job. You kind of have to do it for yourself. So if you're always looking for that validation from someone because you need it, it's going to be really hard to not only start, but it's going to be really hard to keep going. So I don't know, should you or should you not? Now, people can kind of flip the mental switch once they're in a different environment. So, you have to decide, is that for you or not for you? Someone who shouldn't go into business is someone who can live off those highs and lows. In business, especially when you're first starting, you're going into those peaks and valleys all the time. And then as you grow your business, maybe your peaks and valleys aren't so valleyed and so peaked, right? And then maybe they're spread out a little bit, so it's not like like constant, but that it's gradual, right? So you start to taper a lot of that emotional bandwidth, and with the emotional bandwidth, you make different decisions that have different outcomes. So, but if you have a hard time with dealing with those highs and lows, which is what is that uncertainty, right? So people who start a business who can be successful long term have the ability to live in uncertainty. And those who start and then give up, it's because you can't live in that uncertainty. You can't deal with those highs and lows. And I think there's a way. I think that someone who shouldn't start their own business is someone who is constantly thinking about how they can go back to working for someone else, right? So that also is a certain amount of self-belief or lack of self-belief that you can do it. Also driven with your drive to avoid failure, right? So I'm going to give you an example. When I started on my own, I would openly say, oh my God, if this whole business thing fails, I'll just go and apply for a job, or I'll just go back to working for X, Y, and Z company, right? And in my old job, one of them would be like, oh my God, we would love to have you back, blah, blah, blah. I might say that openly, but secretly I was like, fuck you. I am going to ride or die on this thing, right? It is going to work, or I am going to wither away into nothing. Granted, it's very dramatic. I know. My brain is very strong in the words sometimes. But if you're constantly, I think, thinking of going to go back to work for someone I think that thinking stops your brain from giving you the permission to make a go of your business. And so you're not going to, not only will you not start, you won't continue, because your brain is constantly looking for that praise or that need to be accepted by someone else, right? That constant certainty of getting a certain type of paycheck, right? That will allow you to live in the way that you imagine it to be. So I don't think entrepreneurship or starting your own therapy business, I don't think it's for everyone. I think that you have to determine who and what kind of a person you are in order to be honest about what's possible for you and what's not possible for you. Taking on a client here and there after your office hours, after your work or whatever, if someone asks you, that's not a fucking business. That's just out of convenience, you were there. When I'm talking about starting your own therapy business is creating a system where you consistently get patients coming to you. You get consistent doctor referrals, however you want to do it. You work in a way that you consistently get your own patients, right? What a therapy business is if you want to do any kind of teaching or programs. I've gotten a lot more people coming in, asking me questions about what did you do? How did you start Hand Therapy Secrets? I would love to teach and blah, 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 right? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think that there's such a need But it's the same type of thing. Are you doing it here and there? Are you doing this shit for shits and giggles? Because if you're serious about it, then you have to really be consistent about it. If you're just dabbling in here and there, like, it's really not going to go anywhere. And because it's not going to go anywhere, you're going to be like, oh, I don't really want to do that. Or, oh, it doesn't work. It fucking works. You can totally do it if you had something that you love talking about, something that you love doing, and you want to share it with the world. You want to share it with other therapists. You want to share it with other people who have injuries. Like, by all means, that's not a fucking side gig. That's a lot of freaking work and a lot of effort. And so I just think, the more you do it, the more you find out, how you can improve, how you can change, how it's going to work for you. I've gone through several renditions of, what I'm doing, just in the fact that I'm doing the thing that I said I wanted to do. So you have to decide. In this day and age, it is so easy to get started. You can start creating content. You can start getting your own patients. You can start teaching online. There's so many ways to do it that so many people are persuaded, motivated, inspired to try to do it. I'm just saying, if you know more about yourself and what you want and what you're like, I think that whole process is going to be easier. And if you are somebody who's, let's say, can't live in the highs and lows, but you want to have your own business, if you understand that about yourself, then what do you need to do, right? What do you need to do? So I never really thought that I would, in the over 10 years I've been in business, how much being in business challenged who I thought I was and who I am becoming. But it's such an important aspect of starting your own business, getting to know who you are, what you want, because it's in who it's in learning who you are and knowing what you want that will help you make better decisions. Making any decisions and then making them faster and faster so that you can have growth in your business. So when you have growth in your business, you can see, hey, I have proof of concept. This actually works. There's people who want it. There's people who need it. And there's people who are willing to spend their money with me. Let me know if that resonates with you. Tell me in the comments, what this brought up for you. Because I think that there's a lot of people who say they want to start their own business, but there's a difference between want and there's a difference between actually doing it. So figure out which one it is and then, work towards that. Because I think that when you decide that isn't for you, like if entrepreneurship isn't for you, there's another path for you, right? Especially as a therapist, there's other paths for you. What are they? If you want me to explore that, leave me a comment because I think there's so many opportunities for us therapists in this day and age. All right, let me know. My name is Huang. Every Wednesday I put out topics and talk about business for you. So my link's below if you want to work with me or if you want to get on my email list for more details. All right, I'll talk to you later.